I want to tell y'all something today. This is some wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Straight from my 90-year-old grandmama. When I was about 18, 19 years old, I was living with my grandmama, and I thought I knew everything like most of us do when we that age, right? We don't want to listen, and we just think we know everything. But I'm going to tell you something my grandmama told me that humbled me real quick. This is what she said. She said, you might be old in age, but you not old in the mind. All right? This is Mr. Amen. And this is a Let Them Know Media production. So right off the back, my grandmama, she used to tell me, you might be old in the age, but you not old in the mind. And, we know a lot of people that's out here that's grown. That age make them grown, but they not really doing adult things. They still acting like children. They still not taking care of their business. They out here still acting young-minded. We all know that when you get older, there's a certain responsibility that starts coming with life. One of those responsibilities is ain't nobody responsible for taking care of you like you take care of yourself. When you an adult, there's nobody that has to do anything for you. So the biggest thing that you learn immediately is you got to learn how to take care of yourself. And one of those things is getting out your dreams, educating yourself, getting your own place to stay, making sure that you got a car or transportation, right? So you learn real fast the modalities that come with getting older, right? Like paying bills, you got to make sure that the rent paid, the mortgage paid. You got to make sure that the light bill is paid. You got to make sure that the gas bill and the electric bill is paid. You got to make sure that the water running. You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure that the water running so you could bathe. You feel me? So it's like, when I was younger, my grandma used to tell me that. I used to be thinking to myself like, Granny, why you telling me that? I'm out here making money, you saving money for me, and you talking about I'm old in age, but I ain't old in the mind. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I was young and dumb and full of hormones, right? One of the most valuable lessons that I learned from my grandmama when she told me that is like every time she told me that, I used to act out. I was a kid that thought I knew everything, right? But I had been going through a lot with my mom, and so that was the reason why I was staying with my granny in the first place. And some of the things that my mom used to do, my grandma didn't do. But it wasn't all bad. Everything that she did do was just only making me stronger, and I wasn't really realizing that, right? And so, what I had learned was that my grandmama was showing me unconditional love and patience, right? And it took me like 9 months to really figure out what she was saying. And it was because I was acting out, I was throwing tantrums and stuff like that. And my grandmama, she never turned her back on me, right? And so, when she told me, she was like, baby, if you was paying bills, this money that you got saved up, you wouldn't be able to save that money, right? Because you have to learn about the needs and wants that come with life. You got to make sure you taking care of your business, right? So when you paying bills, you got to learn how to have an allowance, right? You got to say to yourself, well, I'm gonna put $100 up for the week, after I done bought my groceries, my bills and stuff paid off, and this is the only money I'm gonna spend this week, and I'm gonna put up such and such amount of dollars, right? And reality is kicking in, and being humble is kicking in, right? And so for those that understand what I'm saying, when I say to you, you might be old in age, but you ain't old in the mind, that should resonate deep down on the inside. Why? Because, life is always lifing. Life is always teaching us. Life is always showing us what's important. And what's more important than building a strong foundation for yourself? What is more important than making sure that you educating yourself properly in the ways of manhood or womanhood, right? You know, because this information is for my brothers and my sisters, for the men and the women out here that is doing the best that they can. They learning, you know, the ups and downs that come with life, and how no matter if you do good or if you make mistakes, you got to keep on pushing. You got to keep on pushing. And so what's wrong is a lot of people don't want to grow up. A lot of people is feeling like, you know, they entitled to everything that's going on. But there's two rules to life, right? And that's going with the ebbs and flows that come with it and standing tall after it. You feel me? So at the end of the day, it's like, you know, the people that go out, get up and get something and make something out of their lives, those are the people that's requiring out of life they hard work and determination, the diligence and the resilience that goes with it, the education that is put upon and pressed upon our minds and our decisions and our choices that we making every day, and the people that's just getting older and still hanging out with children, and they still hanging out at the clubs, and they still are not making adult decisions. You know, those, I guess this ain't for you. But if you at a crossroads with yourself about the things that you need to be doing, then this video is especially for you. Because I don't care if you 35 years old, but you making decisions that, you know, an 18-year-old person make. I think you need to start putting things into perspective, right? You got to start learning and understanding that what you are doing is carrying weight in your life and the immediate people in your circle. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to put needs over wants. You got to make sure that you're making adult decisions, because, you know, I got a video and it's called, What Do You Want Out of Life? What do you want out of life? You know, check that video out. You know what I'm saying? What do you want out of life? How are you going to get it? What are the decisions that you're making today? And how is it pressing upon your tomorrow, right? Anytime something that happens to you and you don't like it, how are you taking it? You understand what I'm saying? Like, how are you actually taking the ups and downs that go through your life? You know what I'm saying? Are you the type of person that when something go wrong, you get mad, you get pissed off, you upset, you know, you throwing grown man and woman tantrums, instead of like, okay, then I need to start moving like this. I need to start doing things like that, right? You know, you got to be obsessed with problem solving. You got to be obsessed with getting over yourself and how you personally feel about anything and everything that don't allow you to stand on your 10 like a man or stand on your 10 like a woman, right? You understand what I'm saying? Because this conversation ain't for the weak. It's a lot of people out here in the world that's 40, 50 years old, still acting like they 25, still acting like they 21 years old. You know? And, you know, another thing my grandma used to tell me, she said, baby, I just think young. I make adult decisions, but I think young. And that was her way of saying, because my grandmama, she from Mississippi, right? And so that was her way of saying that she take care of her business, but she still try to have a youthful mind, meaning that youthful mind is the reason why she keep on moving every day, why she get up and have something to do with her life. And that's the reason why she get up instead of just getting old. You know, she have purpose still in her life every day. And I think it's that very purpose and that tenacity and that strength that got my grandmama at 90 years old, right? My grandma is 90. So it's like, yeah. You know, I've learned from all the above. And I think that, you know, this conversation that I'm having with y'all right now is really meaningful, not only to me, but to a lot of people, because, you know, you gotta, you know, I know it says in scriptures that when I was a child, I acted like a child, but when I was an adult, I start acting like that. I want to say that's exactly how it is, but if I misquote, I'm pretty sure you can find that scripture, right? But I think you get the idea. The whole point is once you get to a certain age in your life, once you come into an understanding in life, once you demand that knowledge, wisdom, and that understanding in your life, you have to hold yourself responsible for all the above, right? Because life is gonna either kick your behind for not doing what you're supposed to do with everything that you know, right? Or you just not gonna never have nothing. And so I want everybody to acquire all of the things that they want out of life, from hard work and determination, from being adults, from being men and women, from out, getting through and going through scenarios and situations and stuff like that. I want everybody to have what they want. I want everybody to be successful. And that's gonna come from you having the mindset to do so. So as long as you have that mindset, I can promise you that you're going to get through your situation and you're going to get better when you go through your situation, okay? So if I ask y'all to please like and subscribe, if you've made it this far, please like and subscribe. I'm almost to 500 subscribers right now, and it is a blessing in disguise, and I'm for it. And I'm here for all of it. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that subscribed. I'm hoping and I'm praying that the conversations that I'm having with y'all is giving you everything that you need to take you to the next level. All right, let's get to the next level. And how we gonna do that? Through proper education, appropriate motivation that brings appropriate inspiration, right? This is Mr. Amen, and this is Let Them Know Media. I want y'all to have a blessed day, and I want y'all to have an even better week. All right? Peace.